Hello everybody, nice to see you. Just let me know you're here in the chat box and we can say hello, which will be great. I'm going to get Laura just to pan over to the painting first. So the first week of lockdown I wasn't sure about what I was going to paint, and in the garden there was this duck's nest, and she had about 12 eggs in there. And about a week ago, unfortunately, a fox came and took the nest, probably took the bird and took the nest, all the eggs, buried the eggs, because foxes just pick up the eggs and bury it for their food later. And we were sort of just left with the bare nest, feeling very, very sad after she'd been sitting on this for nearly 20 days, so she only had 8 more days to go. And so the nest was lost. So this was a painting I made just as the nest was growing in size. And so I thought today, given the duck hasn't come back to use the nest, that I would start a series of still life paintings based on the nest. And so Laura can pan down here and show you the nest. So this is the remains of the nest. I don't know what bird's egg that is. I just found that in the garden. So I've just popped that in. But there were these beautiful sort of pale blue eggs. And so that's all that remains of the nest. But it's just such an amazingly constructed object with feathers and moss. And it's just it's a real work of art. And so I'm going to probably spend a week myself anyway studying it and taking some drawings and paintings and things like that. So I thought, as a start for developing a series of work, you know, we often say let's work in series, and on Artist Voice and Vision yesterday, Helen Donnelly made the comment as well, and I thought, yeah, that's right. We need to give that a little more thought about how we do develop work in series. So I think one of the ways I can go about that is to develop 3 studies in different keys. So I've got 3 panels here that I've drawn, just roughly sketched out, and I'm going to do 3 studies, one in a low key, a mid key and a high key, and sort of just looking at slightly different compositions and placement of the nest. I'm not really thinking nest, I'm thinking shape and form and texture, really. So I thought that might be a good little study today. Let me see who's here today. So hi Libby, Eileen, Aya, Cheryl, Lee. Hello Lee, nice to see you here. Pam, that's great. Brenda, beautiful, lovely. Oh, hi Claire. And who have I missed? Anybody out? Hey, hi Alana. Hi Esme. Super. So we have the nest here, and we're just sort of thinking of a circular shape, sort of spiraling around, and different rotations of the nest, and how we can think about this from a compositional point of view. So what I'm proposing is that each has a different priming. So if you remember, we went back to warm darks, cool mids, warm lights, and they will form the underpainting and the basis for each study. So that's warm dark, cool mid, warm light. So these are paints we've used before. This is the Turner's Milk paint or chalk paint. This is the Art Spectrum pastel primer, and this is sort of a mixture of house paint, I think. Right, so let's get a start on putting the ground down for the low key painting. And I'm just going to get a brush that I can just block in a little of the... This is the priming, so I'm just going to leave some of that dark green showing, but just sketched out. So again, just how I want that nest to So this will probably be within the dark painting. This will be the mid-tone of the dark painting. So I'm just looking at where I can see those mid-tones. And I'm going in, just marking that out. Okay. Now I'll do the middle one. So this is the Art Spectrum pastel primer that I talked about earlier, and it's a lovely sort of gritty surface to paint on. You can see it acts quite differently to the other one, so it has more tooth. So just thinking of the form of the nest, going in there, using a brush today for that. So when you use your brush on the side like that, it's called scumbling. It just means that anything underneath has a chance to show through. It's not a flat colour. So there's our middle tone with the Art Spectrum pastel priming, and we'll do my homemade, which was based on a kind of a, well, actually it might have had some of the pastel priming in here too. I just mixed this up myself because I couldn't find a colour like it, and that's it there. And this is the lighter side of the nest. Just using that too. Really, I'm thinking of the form, how the lovely duck has built up this painting on a linen board. Just thinking of structures I need to make it, and that's the moss coming out there. That's that bit there. Just a moment. I can come in any time and reinstate that priming. So my next stage is to mix up the dark values for this one here. So I have ultramarine blue, raw umber, tiny bit of maybe magenta. So my darkest dark will be made up as such. So it's quite dark. So these are acrylics. Just going to use my straight edge to just help me to keep a more linear control over this. I do have a wet towel underneath the paint to stop it from drying, but you know, it's a hot day, I might have to spray at some stage. So just picking up the shapes on here. So really they're almost like triangular, lots of triangular shapes here. This is the dark key. We won't have any of these lights showing eventually. And I've kept this dark a little warm, which is why I've gone in with the raw umber and magenta slightly there. Did any of you have a chance to see the setup that I did last night? I did post this last night when I set up the 3 panels, just in case somebody did want to try this as a little project at home. And I'll talk about it more, but I want to do a Zoom sort of workshop on the nest, and I'll probably do it Thursday next week in the evenings, so that people who are busy during the day can come in and join. I will post the link for you to join that if you would like. Okay, so that's my dark nest joined in, so I'm going to just put on my color chart there. Make it up again. Just going to put on my color chart. That's the dark we chose. Yeah. Excellent. I hope you're getting a good enough signal to watch it. I don't know if it's my signal or your signal, but its internet has been terrible and the phone signal's not much better. Anyway, I'm persevering on, and I will just see what's going to happen later on, because I probably can switch to Wi-Fi if that's working. Now I need a dark for the mid palette nest, and we've got the blue here, so I'll stay with the ultramarine blue. And I'll mix that with a little white. And I'll use the umber again. So this time the dark is not going to be not as dark as what it was for the low value. So it's going to be a little bit more of a broken grey, and I'll put it down here. There, so that's our dark value for the mid-value nest. So I've chosen more of a central view really for the mid-value nest, so you can see when I layer the grey on this that it really reads as the dark value. And this nest, there's a branch that comes out like that as well. So let's just get some looseness to that. Just to that's the dark value of the mid-tone nest. Now we need the dark value of the high key, so wash that brush out again. I'm going to take a little yellow ochre mix it with the raw umber. I'll show you that. So yellow ochre mixed with the raw umber, so that's going to be our dark value for the high key painting. The grey's running into it, so I'll just keep it flat. Okay, so just building that up. Thinking of the form. In this one there is a branch that comes out and in like that, one that comes in like that, lots of ones like that. This is our high key nest, so this is probably the darkest colour we're going to see. There's a little bit of green underneath there, but that's okay. Okay, so that's the dark values blocked in for the different keys. Again, I might want to add some just softening. Doesn't matter if that runs into there, it's quite nice sometimes if you were displaying these together, that there might be a little bit of connectivity. Okay, so I'll swivel you back to look at the nest. And that's the nest there. Okay, so really we're making a concerted effort to discover what is the truth here. So is it still, Lee, is it still repeating? Is it still doing that? I had that with Jeff's video last night, actually, the same thing. My whole family is working from home, so it makes life a little challenging. So we have a sort of a circular structure. Like so. So that gives us the three values there. You can see that really well. So the next thing is to work up to the mid range of each. Just going to get a cloth, clear my palette a bit. Okay, so now I need a mid range of each. So after choosing this dark here, we'll mix a middle value. I'm going to use a little touch of turquoise in there just to change the blue. Okay. So I've added a tiny touch of Payne's Grey as well. It's going to be quite blue. That's just starting to come onto the canvas. So in a way, this is reading quite nicely as a mid-tone because it helps us to see in to the basket of weaving, really, that this is. And just come in there. Again, soften that a little just to create some connections with all the colours. A little spray. And let's pop that on our colour chart. That's the mid of the dark, which is a bluish colour. Now we choose the mid of the mid. You can even use a little bit of that blue. So it's a paler version, perhaps of that. Just where I think I might want some mid-tones of that nest, I might just come in and some of those feathers too are quite interesting. That sort of fluffy. Scumble that a little. Some sort of indescript. Bring that blue in over here as well, over that white. Really on a low value painting, you're not really going to have any white. Just bring where it disappears out. I sort of keep a little bit of that nice warm underpainting. You could do this as a pure, would be a good study to do for just a pure abstraction as well. I might just do that. So just interesting ways to look at circular shapes. Let's get this in here. Some of that dark. So I take a little bit of that blue across to here, just because I just want to connect this as a triptych. So it might be quite nice, but we need to make that a little lighter for the mid-tone of the light version. So I'm taking a little turquoise with some yellow, tiny touch of the yellow ochre. Just get that. It's actually sort of dark in the back there, but it's lighter here. That's the moss. It's Funny how instinctively with lighter colours you paint the paint a little thicker. I think it's just that thing with oil painting. Get used to doing that. Because we have one branch that comes out like that, a few that come out like this. So you couldn't make this stuff up, you really just couldn't. You know, this is what painting from life does. Natura morte. It is really the nature of the dead, you know, painting dead things, still life. Has so much to offer. Mixed colours, shapes, forms, everything becomes so important. So let me put that mid-tone in here. So the final thing is to mix up the light for the low value. And I'm going to take a little bit of that priming colour that we had. Mix that with a little yellow, just to warm it up a bit. So I'm not adding white into this one, just keeping this literally low key. So a little cat orange and a little yellow. So you can see how much, you know, playing around with these different colour palettes will help you. Now, if you're on a real live workshop with me, of course, you won't have internet problems. So all I can suggest is, you know, when the classes are up and running, get yourself on one, because it's so much easier than dealing with this online stuff. But we will do our best. So the nest structure is sort of quite angular, really. All these little triangle shapes go to make a very, very interesting So there's our low key, and that's the colour we chose for our light value. We could easily go in and add more darks. Again, go back in with that colour if we wanted to, after having seen it's looking really nice. It's really interesting, you know, I like interesting colour. And something like this exercise, it forces you to mix colours and combinations you wouldn't ordinarily choose to do. Just going to sharpen this up. A few more darks. With the blue and magenta and your umber. Just trying to get enough sense for you to see how this works. So try and have transitions between the dark tones and the light tones if you can. Makes it easier on the eye. Negatively paint as well if you need to. Okay, that's the dark middle and light of the low value. Now we need the light value of the mid-tone. I'm going to take a little orange, yellow ochre, white. Mix a little bit of that blue priming into it. You can see how the light sits across, but it's not as bright as this white in the middle. So I'm going to have to get rid of that. But it's really fun. That is also a really fun colour combination as well. There's that stick. Might just use it as a wash in the centre. Don't want to obliterate all the lovely brushwork that we have, so just using a wash rather than heavy paint, just varying the kind of bring that across there. Just because it's a triptych. And I love it when the paint runs like that too. Okay. And let's mix up the the light for the high key. White, really with quite a creamy colour, and our priming was that lovely slightly peachy, so we're okay with this. This is more graphic in nature, I guess. This you start putting the I'm just building that up. Using the straight edge to help with just keeping a rhythm going, really. And I might, oh, there it is. Pterodactyls. Yeah, they are positively dark. We often actually talk, my husband and I often talk about that actually. They are really like dinosaurs. They really are. Just going to get in here now with some graphic marks just to sharpen some of this up. Because that's just giving it sort of painterly kind of finish on it there. I don't mind hard edges, but they can be a bit boring. So I think you can vary your edges a little. Oh, listen to them. I tell you, they're probably the ones eating the phone wires as well. That would not surprise me. So I can go backwards and forwards with, you know, I can come back in with some darks if I want to, build that up. But see, it's very minimal palette, really. I'll take a photograph of the colours I used in the palette because it's down here and you can't quite see it. So it's always nice to have that. But oops, got some white on there. Get back in there with that blue. Get in there with that dark again. Each one has its, each one has its own sort of character. And if you get lost, because you've got the color chart down here, you can always just refer to it. If you then, when it's dry, a little bit drier than this, but you can come in and glaze over these lights if you want, like so. Just warm the lights up, which I often do. Creates a nice glow, happy little glow. Here we are to the nest. These are studies, so I'm going to be doing a lot more work on these over time, because I think there's a lot of interesting things that could be gleaned from this. I can glaze this down as well, and these just make the colours more interesting and more vibrant in a way, or the glaze helps to unify the painting. Just using the surface of the raw linen to help me say what I want. Glaze over some of this. Right, I think we're pretty much done for this level anyway. Can get in there with more marks, or I could even get my Posca pens out. I could use them to make a few little, if I wanted to do some drawing on top of this. Remember that Posca pen? So, if I wanted to get in and make some more drawing marks, these Posca pens work over anything, so you can draw over acrylic or oil. They're really useful. Remember, we're only looking at half the nest here. So, I could either use a squeegee to get those graphic marks, or I could use my pen. So really it makes this more of a feel of a sketch, which I quite like. Particularly as that's the first one in the series. That's it with the Posca pen. Gives it a nice graphic line too. There is a white Posca pen. It might be too white. If you wanted to just come in here with a few of these. Some areas you wanted to soften. So it'll write over the linen. I won't do white on this one because it's a mid-tone. The mid-tone one is the hardest one to really work the colour values, as everything is quite close together. So you have to pay a lot of more attention to drawing in your mid-tone study, and that becomes much more important. So I really need to decide what's going on in there. For example, those brush marks will be really important because that's all I've got really to describe form in that. Come back and leave a little line like that. Okay, wow, that was a big demo. So I hope there was something useful there for you, but with looking at studies like this, it's really interesting to get the value changes and play around with how you might how you might use a series to develop your ideas about something. So I'm going to be, developing this idea of the nest and the shape idea. But which ones are more effective? I mean, in a way, they're all effective, but each has a different mood. So it's useful to try that. So a low tone, mid tone, high tone. And we have it there. So if you do join me for my live, for my Zoom still live, we're going to do the nest. Do sign up via my website. Give me a message on my website, and I'll send you all the details. And I'll put the link on here later. But thank you for joining me today, and I'll answer all your questions after I turn the camera off. Okay, bye.